This conference will now be recorded.
The audio concern. Hitesh, am I audible? Akansha, Aditi, Akshay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
Ankur.
perfect. So I think Hitesh missed us. So he will be back in a while. In the meanwhile, we can start having this journey. So would like to have a quick recap of all those topics and the keywords, whatever we discussed in the last class. And for the sake of your kind understanding, from now onwards, I will start rolling out few of the assignments and the case studies. The complexity level of those case studies would be almost on a higher side. So you should spend some good time. Make sure you are having and taking some time out from your busy schedule so as to look into those assignments and the case studies so that collectively we can ensure that our learning is on a right track. Otherwise, it will always be a problematic situation for you to understand and work on the Python going down the line. Okay, talking about those situations, the one which we have in place is like the user defined function. We discuss how to create a user defined function. User defined functions are the anonymous real-time dynamic functions, mainly for the small calculations, correct?
Yes, the lambda functions.
Sorry, yeah, it's like I started talking about lambda. So the one which I'm talking is like for the lambda, and the user-defined function is like creating your own functions, and you can store them. You can keep them for the later on purpose. Then we have the alternative for the user-defined function as one-time real-time anonymous function for simple and short calculations. Does that make sense? Right after that, we discussed few of the other things, which was more like map function, map apply function, and apply function. In order to understand this map apply, and apply function, I can give you a quick walkthrough with that as well. If you are looking to apply an operation or a function on each element of one single column or variable, then we end up using the map function. Does that make sense? Alternatively, if you have the same operation to be performed on each element on more than one column, then it is more like going to be done with the map apply. So potentially you can say it like for a single variable it is map, for plural variable, for multiple variable you will end up using multiple variable, you will end up using the map apply. Apply is like it can work in either of the ways depending on the input. If you are passing the column, if you're passing the table, then operation can be performed on column wise fashion. Does that make sense? Or if you are passing column, then operation can be performed on each element. That's it. That means as of now it is working and taking a role of map function.
Ankur, just a small question.
Mm-hmm.
In last class, you have like we have used apply map instead of map apply. We have used apply map function. So is it the name
Uh,
interchangeably used?
like sorry for that. It's like don't get worried. It's like in sequence I use the map and that it's like
Okay.
apply map.
Okay. Okay.
So obviously when C thing comes into the picture, this is nothing but an alternative of the do loops for performing some operation row wise on each element. That's it. This is what the quick conversation we had in the last class. I hope this is clear with each and everyone. In order to start with the conversation further, the agenda of today's session prioritizing few things so that the remaining time we can spend there to deal with the data. Today we will be discussing the core packages and the libraries in Python and starting talking about NumPy and Pandas. In that context, we will be understanding the data structures of NumPy and how come? Are you guys able to hear me? Am I audible?
You're
Yes.
audible now.
This is better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a second. Let me do one more thing. Okay. Yeah, I think it should be better. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Okay, great. So one thing we have discussed and studied earlier that Python has been there since ages, since decades in our application, the services side for the development of the softwares and the applications, but has been recently gained a lot of momentum because of the evolution of a lot of the libraries and the packages, and couple of them are NumPy and Pandas. Okay, so NumPy and Pandas are the two most important package in the library we have in Python, because of which we can leverage the utility of Python for the data science perspective. Is that thing clear? Where the NumPy is being called as numeric Python and Pandas is panel data structures. If you will try to understand, just a second, guys. Why my voice is getting big? Okay. So if you will try to understand the core idea behind the NumPy and Pandas, the session would be completely focused on understanding the core essence of NumPy and Pandas. Let us try to understand each of these libraries. Theoretically, you can have the endless conversation and the description about what is NumPy, what is Pandas, why NumPy and why Pandas. To be very true, in a nutshell, without going much into the technical and theoretical conversation of each of these things, I can say if you are going for some calculation based or numeric calculations or arithmetic calculation, then you will end up using the NumPy. Okay. Pandas is the actual data handling capability. When I say data, that means tabular data I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So because of these two reasons, the NumPy and Pandas comes as the two integral part of your data science journey. Am I clear?
Ankur, I have one question.
Yes, please.
So, Ankur, is it like that without uploading or without the usage of this NumPy and Panda, we cannot perform mathematical calculation?
We can do that, but if you want to perform some mathematical operation on the data, then you end up using the NumPy for that. NumPy comes with its own structure, which is two-dimensional. So this gives me the extra functionality and the capability to operate that mathematical operation on the tabular. When I say tabular, that means two-dimensional data I'm more concerned about. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you have lot of libraries like math libraries itself there.
Exactly. That's I
Okay.
tried doing something with the math library, but
Yeah.
that's the reason I asked.
Yeah. So this brings a lot of capabilities for us. Moreover, apart from the mathematical calculation, let me get you into the detail of all these things. The objects being stored as NumPy, we'll discuss all these things now step by step. Takes less memory and hence is the major reason why we end up using the NumPy, and hence processing the NumPy data structures becomes very fast as compared to the other objects. Does that clarify all your doubt now?
Yeah.
So internally, as far as the architecture is concerned, which we have nothing to talk about, which we have no control as such. So technically, NumPy objects takes very less memory area and the size. So because of this, the operation on the NumPy objects takes very less time as compared to the other data structures. Does that helps you to understand what is NumPy and why NumPy?
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect. So now I will be talking about the data structures of NumPy and Pandas. So let us talk about the data structure. So first of all, one-dimensional homogeneous data structure. Two-dimensional homogeneous data structure. Two-dimensional heterogeneous data structure. These are the three criteria I am developing for you to understand the core essence of NumPy and Pandas. Or I can say Pandas and NumPy. So something in line with the list tuple we have studied earlier, which was heterogeneous, one-dimensional heterogeneous, remember guys? We have the same component being called as series. Typically, series is nothing but your column or a variable of your actual table. This is how you can understand that. And needless to mention that your series or the column or a variable has to be homogeneous So if I'm saying a variable is there called name, so I can have a name called Ram, Shyam, Ghanshyam, Geeta, Sita, Babita, right? But can I have a name called 007? No. So I cannot have some numbers in the name or some uh, just a second, guys. I was getting a call. I hope this is not just a second. All right. So let's now resume this session. So we have something in pandas with the name called series. Series is nothing but a typical column or a row in a table. So I hope this is something which is very obvious. You can understand. I cannot have something character under the age column. Age has to be number, and all the values under the age column should be number itself. So can I have Ram within that? No. So as far as the typical classification of the data structures are concerned, in the pandas and the NumPy, we have these things: series and the same one-dimensional homogeneous data structure in NumPy is being called as ND array. As far as two-dimensional data structure is concerned, we have nothing in the pandas, but we have ND array again with the dimension 2. We have a two-dimensional heterogeneous data structure, which is typically being called as and we as such have nothing there in the NumPy for the two-dimensional heterogeneous object. Is that thing clear to each and everyone? The reason why I am picking the NumPy and the pandas in this conversation is because for the remaining few days, you can start looking into the NumPy and pandas so that we can start working on the actual data so as to have some basic data handling techniques, like how we can create a variable, how we can drop a variable. So once you are accustomed with all these things, I'm very much confident and sure, and I believe that you guys will get a lot of confidence to deal with Python. Otherwise, things would always be remain in a black and white for you to understand where and how you can use this Python. So for that reason, now I am actually having a deep dive and having a leap so as to directly jumping onto the pandas and NumPy. And as and when other things are required for the base Python, you can I mean we can discuss that as and when it is required on the case by case basis using some case studies and the problem statements. So first of all, I will walk you through with the NumPy and the pandas, the core of the basics, and then we will take all these things forward. So before, in the meanwhile, this is getting open. Could anyone of you let me know, did I discuss one problem statement in the form of RFM segmentation during the SAS classes or earlier? Did I? Could anyone of you help me understand?
No, I cannot recall.
Amit, Rikita, Anshul, Akansha, Aditi. Could anyone of you remind me?
Ankur, I cannot
Okay.
recall. I cannot recall you discussed that.
All right. So that's good. So if you guys want to have a fun ride or an interesting learning part going down the line, I can actually spend 15 minutes in this session today so as to discuss one problem statement. And that problem statement has already been resolved there in the Excel file, the data I have done that completely in the Excel file. And I can ask you to get the same thing being replicated in Python. After this session today, I believe I must have discussed all the basic things, whatever it is required for you to get started. So the idea is like once you have the problem statement in place, you would be in a position to get the things done in a much better manner. Rather than learning the things in a top to bottom approach, let's start to have a bottom to top approach where you will be required to get the things done practically. And based on that, you will have a lot of things to learn there. Would that be helpful? And does that make sense to everyone here in this batch? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Okay. There's a first of all, the reason why I'm picking a problem statement in this conversation, because you guys are already experienced and having a fair idea about the data. The only thing missing from your part is like you don't have the core understanding with the data, and that too with Python. So Python is just a platform or a software to start with the thing. But the only part which is missing from your understanding, confidence of understanding and dealing with the data. Am I correct? Is it still breaking, guys?
Yeah, Ankur, it's breaking.
Is it better now? I think it's like taking a the phone. This is like the best I could have probably done. Seems like a problem with the GoToMeeting now. So is it still breaking?
Yes, it is. It is.
Oh, just a second. Is it better now somehow? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So, guys, the idea of having this conversation in place is not just to get you scared with the way how the things are to be done. The interesting part and the fact of this entire conversation is like this is very simple and straightforward. Just going with the simple ways and the ideas, you can get your task done. If you will need my help, I will for sure be there for you to get anything done for you. Now, when I say pandas and numpy in this conversation today, I will anyhow be talking about how to import the data, how to get some basic processing done. That's the real reason of why pandas is used in the industry. Pandas is the dedicated library and a tool for us to handle the data. When I say handle the data, that means all those functionalities which are required for you to deal with the data is actually being provided by the pandas, be it for importing the data or for manipulating the data. And pandas can also be used to a certain extent for the basic data visualization aspects. So pandas is like a complete package in itself, which actually helps you to get everything done, whatever you're looking for. And now, because in this session, you would be able to learn the way how the data has to be dealt with. So it is good to have a problem statement in place and then to learn the things. Does that make sense? So here we go. Everyone understands the transactional data? Let us suppose I have a lot of my friends here, Amit, Anshul, Akansha, Akshay, Aditi. So these are all my friends, and when I'm saying transactional data, each of those client can have multiple transactions, isn't it so? And let us say I have the transaction amount, some XYZ number. When I say transactional data, I generally have the amount and the product name being ordered. So whenever I'm talking about the transactional data, you have to have the Amazon or a Flipkart data there in your mind as an analogy. Like you can have a name of a person who have given the order, then you can have order ID, the order date, shipment date, okay, the amount of the product, this is already there, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Perfect. How many in this batch does not understands what is percentile? Please be honest with me. If you really don't know, feel free to say that yes, you don't know this thing. Anyone in this batch does not understands what is percentile? I am taking the names out there personally so that you can at least say yes and no. I can have a record of that. Akansha, any doubt understanding what is percentile?
No, Ankur.
Aditi, so far so good.
Yes, Ankur.
Is it Anshul, Mr. AG?
Yeah, uncle. I'm good.
Okay, good with that. Perfect. Akshay, I believe you should be good with that as well. You're already a data scientist, right?
Yeah.
Amit and Hitesh are the two experienced most guys, so I can expect yes from them as well. So skipping them. Nikita, Hitesh, can you hear us? Like your status is being shown as online, but I cannot have any conversation with you since the last 15 minutes. Hitesh?
Yes, I am good.
Okay, perfect. So to be very true, in the industry, percentile, decile, and quartile are one of the, or I'm saying one of the, not the only most, okay, are one of the most important keywords and the terminologies you have to have in your mind for your data science prospect. Why? Because these things are directly or indirectly used for a lot of the other things and for the reasons. And if you have any familiarity with Tableau, in case if you guys are using Tableau in your workplace, so there is like 80-20 rule, 20-80 rule, Pareto charts. So these are eventually being drawn using the deciles, quartiles. We can do the deciling and so on and so forth, isn't it so? So percentile in a nutshell is dividing the data into 100 equal parts. Deciling is dividing the data into 10 equal parts. Quartiling is dividing the data into 4 equal parts. Does that make sense to everyone? We have a keyword called median. I hope everyone understands what is median. Median is nothing but 50th percentile, which is obviously going to be the 5th decile, which is obviously going to be the 2nd quartile. If anyone is having any doubt, question, concern with this equation or with this conversation, please feel to ask right here, right now. You can see something on your screen. I have deliberately dragged some numbers, created some. I have actually prepared and cooked this data for the better and clean understanding for you guys. So I have, so salary is like I actually just put that today itself. Forget about this, anything there. So we have just few numbers there with me. I have literally calculated the median, and how this median has been calculated with the function called median. The number came out to be 10.75. What does that literally means is like any value which is less than 10.75 is lying under this Q2 or median. So 50% data resides below this number and 50% data resides after this number. So typically I have dropped a line. That means 50% data resides below this number and 50% data resides ahead this number. For the sake of your clear-cut understanding and connecting the dots, I have actually get and retrieved the quartile Q2 with another function called, is it for everyone? Online guys, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see that I have this number I have earlier getting calculated with the median function. I have now used another second being calculated. This another formula. I am still getting the same number with 0.75.
Ankur's breaking heavily.
Ankur, yeah, not you are not audible
I
properly.
have also used the 50th. So 3 different functions. Can you hear me? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Ankur, but your voice is breaking.
Okay. So one thing, let me change my place once again and let's try out moving on to
Breaking
the other
again.
room. Just give me a few minutes. Okay, let me change my settings once again.
हैंडबैग ही रखा है क्या नीचे? हैंडबैग ही रखा है। मैंने कहा था ना उसको रोक देना, बुक बना रहा था मुझे। उनको कह रही थी रोक देना रोक देना।
Okay, am I audible better now? Online guys, is it audible better? Akansha, Akshay, Anshul?
Much better.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. But you may have my baby's crying voice could be heard in next couple of minutes anytime. So just keeping my fingers crossed. And he's actually moving out to his nanny's place in few minutes. So that's the reason I was refraining to get entered into this room. So, all right. So you could clearly see the discussion we had earlier before the voice were breaking. I actually have retrieved the different formulas. I mean, I have retrieved the same number with the different formulas for the median, quartile, decile, and percentile. And you can see all these different formulas are eventually giving me the same number, even with the different Excel formulas. That clearly tells me that median is equals to Q2 is equals to decile, fifth decile is equals to 50th percentile, which actually breaks the data into two equal parts. I have also calculated the Q1, which you could see there, with another formula called quartile. Having the first quartile being calculated, the number came out to be 9.625. That simply means that any value below this number is actually 25% of the data, and ahead of this we have 75% data, and so on. We have also calculated the Q3. That means below to this 14.75 number, there resides the 75% data, and ahead of this resides 25% data. I hope this makes sense to each and everyone. What do you mean by Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4? In case if you have any doubt, question, concern, understanding quartiles, deciles, and percentiles, please feel free to ask, because this is going to be the final conclusion for our problem statement. So far, so good, guys. Let's take this forward then. Now, forget about this as an individual number. I'm saying that let it be a salary. Now, tell me, out of all those salaries of the different customers, which group or which quartile is the most important one as a customer for me? If this is the transactional data, if this is the overall client level and customer level data I have, if I have the salaries being distributed or divided into various quartiles, which quartile is the most important section of client, and which quartile is the most important section of the customers for my business? Online guys, your input please. Come on guys. Aditi, Akansha, Amit, Anshul. Just a simple question. Hello guys, am I audible? Akshay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Ankur,
sir.
just one more time, if you can just elaborate the question once again. I mean, whatever you said,
Okay.
that's
So
fine.
my question is,
Please.
yeah. So what I'm asking is, I have the different salaries of the various customers, right? So a person A is having 8, 9, 9.5, and so on and so forth. Let's suppose these are the different salaries of the various customers I have. My question is like, in this entire data, if I have clustered or grouped the data into various quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, what do you think is the most important section of the customer for my business to consider? Who is the most potential set of the customers in this data I have? In which quartile do you think? Which quartile is the most important section for my business?
Q4.
Is it Q?
Q4, correct?
Yeah.
Obviously, the person having the highest salary would be the most important section for my business, because they have the more disposable income, more purchasing power with them, isn't it so?
Yes.
So, guys, if you will turn out to the Google, and you will find that online, you will try to search that out. There is a typical exercise being done in the retail and the e-commerce industry being called as RFM segmentation. Obviously, R and F and M are the three different keywords, where R stands for the, I'm just walking you through with the problem statement. Eventually, the solution has to be derived from you guys, by you guys in Python. Recency, frequency, and monetary. Now, these three attributes collectively gives me lot of information and the idea about the customer, and based on that, I can reach out and can can work accordingly. So this entire theme is called as segmentation, guys. This is too early for me to discuss that what is segmentation, but because I have started talking about the Python and especially pandas and NumPy, and eventually I will have some data into the picture. So I wanted to have a proper start, a formal start, and that too with a dip of the analytics flavor into that. And this would have been the best scenario for us to start with
Anko, your
because this
voice is
typically
breaking.
does not. Mm, come on, guys.
Or is it just me that have having the issue right now? Is there anybody else who is like who can confirm that the
Akshay,
voice is?
same issue
Yeah.
here as well.
But I can't find any reason. So this is excellent, and I'm connected with my mobile app actually. So there is no point for this getting disturbed. I don't. Okay, let me do one thing. In fact, instead of using the Wi-Fi in my mobile, is it better now?
Yes, to an extent.
So I have actually tried out all the possibilities. Earlier, I was using the Wi-Fi in my mobile, so now I have jumped onto the mobile data. It's like obviously 4G. So let's keep our fingers crossed once again. So all right, guys.
Okay, just a small question. What do you mean by regency over in like FM and F?
Yeah. Covering into that part, coming into that part.
Okay.
So we have a transactional data. So I mean, everyone, first of all, you have to have an analytical bent of mind in order to understand this entire thing. You have to have a business context. So when I say transactional data, obviously Amit can have multiple transactions being placed, isn't it so? Anshul can have multiple transactions. Anshul can have multiple entries. So this type of analysis, first of all, you have to roll up the data. When I say roll up the data, that means you have to group the data. So this data has to be rolled up on the client level data so that you can have one single entry for each customer. Does that make sense? This roll up is nothing but a simple SQL group by, grouping and aggregation. Simple SQL grouping. Roll up on client ID. And based on that, can you find the monetary value? Monetary value means total amount for each for the one client, like Amit ka transaction, this one, and this one. Can you have that?
Yeah.
So this would be the total monetary value being called as M. Make sense?
Yeah.
Can I have frequency? How many times Amit is making a transaction?
Yeah.
Now, apart from that, you do have a order date or maybe a shipment date as well for the multiple transactions. Can you find out the last time when Amit did the transaction with us based on the recency? I mean, based on the order date, can you find out
Yeah.
the very last transaction? If you will sort this data on name and then on the order date, I can find the very first date, isn't it so?
Yes.
So this is what you have to do in order to find the recency. Now question comes, why recency? So my question is like Amit and sorry, not Amit, is it like Akshay and Aditi and rest of my other folks, Anshul including them. So don't you think if a person has done a transaction very much recently, he is the most, he's the better, or you can say trust, reliable customer as the one who has done a transaction an year before? Let us suppose,
Yes.
I'm giving an example. Let us suppose Anshul has done a transaction with me day before yesterday, whereas Akansha has done a transaction with my shop or retail store an year before. So for me, Anshul is the most reliable customer because I don't know as of now whether Akansha is there in India or not, or she have moved out to Canada or US or Australia, having a PR there or what else, whatever. So I don't know about the whereabouts of Akansha. So for that reason, Anshul is better customer for me. So recency also plays a significant role in order to identify the customer behavior and better to understand them. Am I clear? Considering
Yes.
these three attributes like recency, frequency, and monetary collectively gives me lot of information about the customer. Now, obviously, I will have three attributes for each customer. Like I have various customer like Amit, Anshul, Akansha individually. After getting a roll up data, after rolling up the data and grouping the data, I will have the individual entry for Amit and for Anshul and for Akansha. Isn't it so? Can we get the monetary value? Can we get the frequency? Can we get the recency? Yes or no? Now using the basic formulas, can you get the quartile of monetary? Can you get the quartile of frequency? Can you get the quartiles of recency? Can you get that? Just think about the situation. I have done that for your easy understanding there in Excel so that you can understand what I'm trying to convey. I had the transactional data. This is the transactional data, guys. And I have got and retrieved, and after grouping that, I have got this converted into a customer level data where the data has been rolled upon customer ID. And based on that, I have calculated or got the recency, frequency, and monetary being captured. And based on these three numbers, because you guys are already champion and expert in Excel file, I found this as the best way for me to communicate what it is required this to be done. I have simply calculated the first quartile, second quartile, third quartile of all these three attributes for recency, frequency, monetary. See this formula, simply doing that in Excel. Everyone understands the quartile? Quartile means first quartile of recency is 26, second quartile of recency is 93, third quartile is 225, and fourth quartile of recency is 559, 457, sorry, and this is on for frequency and monetary. Anyone having any doubt with these numbers online, guys? This is Q1, Q2, Q3 for recency, frequency, and monetary. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, Ankur, it's not. Yeah, so Ankur, there's no doubt, but another fact is that it's not very clear as well. So if you can just explain the numbers, would be great for once. What does
Okay.
26 means? What should I
So
understand?
this is exactly the same thing what I have retrieved there, and these are the quartiles, right? This is exactly same like Q1, Q2, Q3 I have retrieved there with the formula called quartile. So can you see this quartile? Q1, the formula is like this entire range of the data, and I'm getting the first quartile, which came out to be 9.65 for this number, for this set. Okay, that means 9.65 is the first quartile. First quartile means 25% data. So below which 25% data resides. So quartile means dividing the data into 4 equal parts. So 25 this part, 25% this part, 25% this part, and 25% this part is what typically I am doing there for recency. So if you look into the formula, the range I have provided is like B2 to B22 and so on. So just take a look. I'm afraid like we won't be able to cover this. So if you look into the way that the formula is being retrieved, I just have double clicked on this formula. So this is passing, I'm passing the entire range of recency. So isn't it like I am these are the numbers, I am breaking out these numbers into 4 quartiles. So what does that typically means? Like any value between 0 to 26 is actually having Q1. Any value between 26 to 93 is falling under Q2. Any value between 93 to 225 is Q3 for recency I'm talking. And so on with I'm talking with the frequency in monetary. Does that make sense? Amit, Hitesh, Akshay, Aditya, Akansha, Aditi, Nikita. Does that make sense to you as well? At least say yes or no.
Sorry, I could not. I am not very familiar with. I may have to practice a little more. Nikita says yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we can do
Akshay
it,
says
Ankur.
yes.
Here is we can. No, I'm not saying yes. So I'm saying that we can try that end, and then we can see if we have any doubt, and if we do have any doubt, we'll come back to you then.
All right. All right. So, my dear friends, on a very fair note, if you will consider it more like a mentor or a coach rather than just considering me as a trainer, can I share one personal input, especially with Amit, Hitesh, and my other folks, whosoever is finding it difficult to understand?
Yes.
So my personal suggestion and input would be I can completely understand that you may be getting some hassles to understand that. But trust me, this has nothing to do with what I'm doing there in the Excel. Practically, from my side, you need to understand what is quartile. The moment you would be able to understand what is per quartile, you will instantly get to know. So my personal recommendation would be just to create some data in Excel file and put that formula and try to see how the numbers are getting generated. So the moment you will have the idea about what is quartile, you will instantly get that. Okay. So in this sense, these are the cutoff values typically. So practically I'm speaking, so 0 to, it's like, let's suppose you have a data in a particular range 0 to n. So you are breaking the data into 4 equal parts. That's what the typical quartiling means. So 0 to n. So you are breaking the data into 4 equal parts. That's it. With the 3 quartiles. So this will be Q1, this will be Q2, and this will be Q3. So far, so good. So Q1 means this is the 25% of the data, 0 to, sorry, I mean this went again. So this is Q1, right? So this is 25% data. That means any value of this row. So just try to take a look there. You can now understand that, Hitesh. What I'm doing is, so using some if then else formula. I hope you can understand that in the Excel file. I mean, this is again a complicated formula. So doing that exercise in Excel actually takes a lot of trouble and complications. But having that done on R and Python is like a very simple activity. And the only reason what I have felt so far is like you guys are already champion and expert in Excel. So it would be easy for you to understand the flow in Excel, and then you can replicate the same logic and context there in Python is the real reason of why I am using that. But having said that, what all you need to understand is like what is quartile. I'm leaving that on your side to understand that for a while. Best part would be to get some numbers being generated at your end and then apply a formula just like the way I did that in my another Excel sheet for you to refer there. Where is that?
Ankur, I believe you would be sharing this file as well.
Which one? The data file?
The one
This
which
one?
you are showing currently. Yeah.
Yes, this
Is
is
it
actually the data. Yeah,
Yeah, we need, like, I would be going through this entire formula thing.
definitely. Just a second, guys. I mean, slide it to the file.
So Ankur, in this case, to understand the quartile recency, because the data base data which I see there in column B is not sorted. So data sorting is done first and then the quartile is extracted out of the
Oh,
data.
okay, I got your point. So, I mean, we manually need not to get this done. your Excel file will actually be doing that in the behind the curtain. We never do that.
No, no,
Okay.
I understand, but at the back end, what is happening? How it is getting processed? So first the data was sorted, and then first 25% of the data when I got the 26 as a uh,
Absolutely,
value.
yes. This is the actual flow. So how the median percentile deciles calculated. First of all, the
Yeah.
numbers are getting sorted in the increasing order, and then it is being broken up. So middle value, like if you have 20 records, then the data will be sorted, and then the 10th value will be considered as a cutoff value. Whichever is having the number at the 10th value will be considered as the median.
Okay,
Okay.
got that now. Yeah, I got that now.
So guys, just have a break for 5-10 minutes. My kid is actually leaving for his nanny's place. So in the meanwhile, you can enjoy and have your tea or coffee, and we'll connect back in the next 5 minutes. Okay.
Sure.
All right, shall we resume the session now? Everyone, Akshay, Amit, Hitesh, Nikita, Aditi, are we all there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Now, the basic idea of this entire conversation is to first of all understand how the percentile, decile, and quartiles are being calculated behind the curtains. So the basic formula, what does that works is like, first of all, any formula or the way how it is being done is like, it will sort the data internally and will identify the middle value. Median means the middle value only when you have sorted the data. So considering that part, I'm not getting into the details of how the Q1 and Q2 and Q3 and Q4 will be calculated. Let's now directly hit the bullseye. Based on this matrix which I created, calculating the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 individually for recency, frequency, and monetary, I have labeled each row based on recency to its particular quartile. Can you see that? Anyone having any doubt with column number E? You can easily do that with the if then else condition. You guys are expert. In Excel, this is like problem, this painstaking, but in R, Python, and SAS, it can be simply done with the dedicated formulas. You need not to worry about that part. And same is what being done with the frequency and monetary. Anyone having any doubt with column number E, F, G?
No.
No, perfect. Now, what do you think as far as recency is concerned? Only considering this, which customer IDs are important, whether it is like Q1 or Q4?
Q4.
Really? So don't you think like Q1 is all those customers who have done the transaction very much recently? Yes or no? Because their
Yes.
recency time is less, that means active customer, can I say that?
Yes.
If those customers are active, can I start having the cross-sell, upsell policy or strategies to be built on them? This is like cross-sell, upsell, marketing strategies to all those customers who are falling under Q1 of recency, yes or no?
Yes. Okay, now I got
Just a business thought, just a business thought.
Yeah.
Can I say all those customers who are falling under Q3, Q2 and Q3, they are risky customer because they have not done any transaction with us since so long? So I should start having a retention campaigning for them, just like the way employee retention policies HR starts. Once they have identified that certain employees are on a verge of leaving our company, isn't it so? Can
Couldn't
I
it
start
be
doing the
Q1
retention
and
campaigning?
Q2?
Sorry?
Couldn't it be Q1 and Q2 because those customers did not have been made any transaction from past 6 to 9 months?
I just lost it. Could you please bit louder? Is it Aditi or Nikita? I couldn't hear it.
It's Aditi, so I would say Q1 and Q2 because these customers have not made any transaction from past 6 to 9 months, we can say.
Mm, so Q1 plus Q2. So Q1 is the most recent one, right? So are you looking to put them under the risk category?
I guess we discussed Q4 would be the recent one.
No. I just mentioned Q1 would be the most recent one. Q1
Then
means
That's a mistake
whichever is
from
having
my
the
part.
least value.
then should be Q3 and Q4.
Okay, so let's take that one after the another.
Okay.
I don't know what it is troubling to him. Guys, can you please leave me for a moment? I think he is troubling me back and forth. Just a second. Guys, just spare me for 30 more seconds. Something significant troublesome happened with the manager of the another team, so he is chasing out like anything. All right, friends, sorry for that trouble. I hope you guys can see my screen now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now, all in all, what I'm trying to say is like Q1 are the, I mean, particularly talking about recency. So recency in the Q1 means the most lesser number of days, the minimum number of days. Minimum number of days means most recently. Most recently means, can I say and categorize them as an active customer?
Right.
Yeah, the remaining quarters left are like Q2, Q3, and Q4. What Aditi, you are concerned is like, should I be putting that Q3 along with Q4 or should that be clubbed with Q3? So that's like completely a business understanding and a logic. It is subjective. You and me cannot decide as a training module whether it should be Q2 as Q2 or Q3 as a risky or Q4 and Q3 as the deactivated customer. It's all about the business and the way of understanding the data. But in a typical sense, it is like you are doing and putting them into certain groups. So Q1 is for sure active. If you want, I can put it like Q2 as risky and Q3 and Q4 is deactivated. So I would start churn customer. I would start doing the reactivation campaign. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Online guys, anyone having any doubt with that part? Now, within that Q1 as recency, just try to understand this. All those customers who are under the recency of 1, that means the active customer, I should focus on them specially. Within that recency of 1, Obviously, the customer having the highest monetary quarter, that means Q4, with the highest frequency quarter, that is Q4, is the most potential customer, isn't it so? So as far as the offers of the credit card is concerned, I should offer them the best offering I have in my business, that is premium. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
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 And to the remaining one, I should have the gold card if there is a Q3 for recent frequency and Q3 for monetary and so on and so forth, and silver for the other one, and nothing for the rest of the other ones, considering their quartile in which they are falling.
Mhm.
So I will be uploading this data on your common shared drive, where I have done few of the things in Excel file. I have just calculated the quartiles here for you for each of these things. You are just supposed to work on these 4 columns. You just have to import the data. I will tell you how to import the data in Python. That's not at all a concern. You have to just get this only table being imported in Python and have to give me the marking for each customer, whether it is falling under the risk category, active category, or deactivated category. Could you be able to do that?
Sure, we will try.
Yeah. And would you be able to provide me the offer? Like, should I be giving him the old card, silver card, or a premium card, platinum card? Would you be able to provide me these 2 columns online, guys? In Python, you have to get a solution done. Just start with that. Don't worry. Just keep this one only single statement in your mind, like everything in R and Python has to be done with the function. That's it. And nobody can learn and remember the function. That's it. This is enough for you to know and to get started with that part. You just need to understand what needs to be done. If you are good enough to understand what needs to be done, you can easily get the entire project completed in R, Python, or whatever the new platform is. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Rest is Google and a winking smile. Okay. Feel free to take out the help from Google and the Stack Overflow as far as the Python and R is concerned. Guys, can you please put yourself on mute? I'm getting a lot of background noises. So I hope this problem statement is interesting. So first of all, I mean, this has nothing to do with what we have. I mean, this is of course has a lot of sense for what we have discussed. The entire problem statement was segmentation. Segmentation is actually grouping the data, splitting the data into various groups so that we can define the strategies and the policies for each group specifically. So typically there are 2 keywords, segmentation. Along with that, we have also a keyword called targeting. Typically, in a nutshell, the business sense of the segmentation is just to identify how we can target each of the corresponding group in a best potential manner. Does that make sense? So segmentation targeting goes hand to hand. We do the segmentation so that we can target them accordingly, just like the way you will be doing the cross-sell upsell for the risky for the active customer, retention campaigning for the risky customer, and reactivation campaigning for the churned customer. So it is important for us to know the business sense as well for many of the things. Okay, this is the code what you guys were having with you. So first of all, we'll try. I mean, I will be having a much more detailed conversation on a theoretical perspective, implementing that on Python in the next class. So don't worry, I am giving you a complete framework so that you guys can start working with the data is what the real reason of me to take this up forward, okay? So you guys can start working on NumPy and Pandas by importing them. Import NumPy as NP, import Pandas as PD. Generally, we give the alias name so that our life can get easy because we have to have a package name being used in our coding methodologies one back and forth again and again. So for that reason, we generally put the alias name. I will tell you why and how. So NP is nothing but an alias or a short name for the NumPy as a package. Pandas is PD is nothing but a short name for the pandas. Whenever you are starting a new session, you have to have this import statement being written for all the packages. It is nothing but making the package active to be used in the current session. Does that make sense? So as far as the theory and rest of the other conversations are concerned, you can actually have a deep dive with multiple ways. You have a formal frame introductory part as well. I will also share truckloads of the PPTs and the reference material, but that will not help you to that extent until unless you are not getting your hands dirty with the practical hands-on problem statement, and that is where we have started with. I hope you guys are convinced with this approach.
Yeah.
Products, yeah. Learn more. So here you can read out all these things about the Python, the basic packages, NumPy. So you will have thousands of the references and the links available. Trust me, guys. I can even provide you the dedicated slides for Pandas and NumPy. So this has nothing to do. Okay, so my two packages are installed and let me get started with that. So I am creating a list first of all is equals to list and like 12. This is list. Type of L1 is surely coming out to be list. NP dot, if you will scroll it down, NP means the NumPy, the package I have mentioned. And there is a function called array where you are passing and converting this list into an array. You could have also created your array manually as well, but I'm telling you what an array is. We'll talk about rest of the other scenarios as well. So type of N1 is coming out to be NumPy ka ND array because it is one-dimensional homogeneous. Does that make sense? So let us try to have A. This is list. This is still being converted, but what does that N1 contains is something you need to check. Can you see all the values are in the inverted quotes? Why? Because NumPy array cannot be heterogeneous just like the way originally you had list, and it will automatically convert all of them into a character value is the real reason why you are having the quotes for all these values. So this is NumPy, which is one-dimensional homogeneous. You can have multi-dimensional homogeneous as well being created with the multiple ways. You can have multiple lists being passed into that and so on and so forth. I can show you multiple other ways as well. So there are thousands of the things, guys. Like, let me put it 3 there. Can you see a list has been created with a shape of 3 by 3? This list is nothing but a matrix you have studied in your 11th standard. You remember that? Matrix in 11th standard is the typical idea of NumPy array, a two-dimensional array. So we can have, I mean, we can have infinite conversation over that NumPy. I will be discussing that in detail once we are getting started with the data. So NumPy in a nutshell is like, guys, the homogeneous, it is like either a one-dimensional or a two-dimensional. Homogeneous, which takes less memory space to store, and then after that, it is very faster to process the data, and that's the real reason why we prefer having a NumPy for the data science perspective in order to get the data being processed in a faster manner. Is that thing clear? There are thousands of the ways and the reasons for you to deal with the NumPy and so on and so forth. Are you with me? Now I have a list L1. I can convert that list L1 into the pandas. We have a dedicated function for pandas, which is pd.series, which is again a homogeneous one. So this is now your series, guys. And you have studied the data structure of pandas in the very first conversation. You remember that? We have it as an object. Object, why? Because there is a character value. And because of it, everything has been converted to character. Make sense? Am I clear with this? Let me convert,
Yes.
let me remove this A for a while. And then what will be the data type if I will have this much data? So the data type in the pandas is int64. You remember that? So can you see this int64? I think this has been mentioned earlier as well. So you have this already being drafted and captured in the form of a code earlier. Could you see that int64? I hope everyone remembers this. Now, whenever you are importing a data in a form of a CSV file or something like that, by default, it would be a data frame. So you can read out the data like I'm reading it. So I have HR employees, a CSV file, which we were using probably in the SAS classes as well, if you remember. Isn't it so?
Yes, we were.
So HR is equals to PD dot. So PD pandas is the package which actually offers you almost every functionality for you to deal with the data. When I say deal with the data, it is like having the functions for reading the different types of files, be it CSV file or an Excel file, or to manipulate the data, maybe to add a variable, drop a variable, delete a variable, group the data, merge the data, append the data, and blah 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 and blah blah blah. Does that make sense? You being a data science professional cannot learn all the functions. You being a data science professional cannot learn all the arguments within a function, and you being a data science professional need not to learn all these functions practically. It comes with the requirement, it comes with the exposure, it comes with the practice, and more importantly, it comes with like Googling. So PD, you can have this like read underscore. So CSV is to read the CSV file, Excel is to read the Excel file. So tab is the keyword. Did I mention the tab keyword earlier, guys? So if you will mention dot keyboard tab, you will get all the required functionalities being uploaded there. So you can have read underscore CSV to read the CSV file, Excel to read the Excel file, and then I have to mention the path of the file which I want to read. So this is the path. The path has to be mentioned in inverted quotes. Moreover, it can have either 2 backward slashes or one forward slash in the path. It is easy for me to add an additional backward slash rather than deleting the previous one and putting it a forward slash. So I always prefer having a 2 backward slashes in the path, and the name of the file which I want to get into the picture is HR human resource employees.csv. It's a lengthy name. .csv extension has to be there, and run this. Wow, fantastic, perfect. B HR dot shape is the function which will give you the dimension, like it is having 2639 rows and 13 columns. So you can check out all these functions in your free time whenever you are very much interested to learn Python. Does that make sense? So just put a tab, and whenever you are free, whenever you are not feeling sleepy, just try out what each of these functions are doing. It will not corrupt your system. Make sense? So there is a function called head.
Ankur, can we see?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, please.
So can we see that the entire data, the way we see in Excel?
In Jupyter Notebook, you cannot see the entire data. It can have just the few records being printed. Like head can give you the top 5 rows. Okay, head 50 can give you the top 50 rows, and so on and so forth. Okay.
So
Make
is there
sense?
any specific limit to add the number of rows here?
Okay, so if you will simply press HR, you will get the top 30 and the last 30 records being visible for a snapshot purpose. Okay, later on you can pass on there. So like it's top 30 and the last 30 records. Just to give you a complete overview about the data. Typically, this is not a data visualization. You can convert that into a report and can see that actually later on. So there are a lot of data reporting tools in the Python, which we'll be discussing later. But as far as the overall data is concerned, you cannot directly see that in Python, Jupyter Notebook actually. Okay. You can convert that into a report form and can see that later. There are a few functions like HR, like head and tail, just like the way we have that in R as well. Head will give you the top few records. By default, it will give you the top 5 records. So head will give me the top 5 records. Got that? So by default, the HR you got created is obviously going to be the pandas data frame. Am I clear with this? So this is a heterogeneous 2-dimensional data, which is actually your table. I hope this makes sense to everyone. So my point is very clear, my dear friend, that as far as this training is concerned, I might have told you that how to read a CSV file so as to get a data frame being converted. In your homework, I would be giving you the Excel file to read the data. Few of you can claim and can crypt that key we haven't discussed how to read the Excel file. But my dear friend, I can even tell you how to read the Excel file. It is just like the another function, read underscore Excel. Got that? Comes from the PD, pandas again. But point is, you have to understand what needs to be done, and based on that, you have to look after for the right function. Because even though I am providing you the Excel file, do you remember the sample superstores data, which I probably given you a problem statement in the SAS classes earlier? Did I? Online guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So how many of you were able to perform that problem statement, and what was the problem statement? So I'm giving you some homework for the next 2 days. Task number 1, using the RFM data, please segment the customers as discussed in the class. Number 2, using the sample superstore data, Excel file typically, find the total return value of each customer, not each customer, for each year and each segment. Got that? Guys, would you be able to do that? So let me make it very clear for us to set the right expectation. I am not saying that I have discussed all the required things for you to get completed with these 2 tasks. No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying that once you are able to understand what needs to be done, you really need not my support for you to get the entire task being completed. I would prefer having my role being limited just to handhold you, just to guide you the way how the things are to be done in Python and the approach. So my eventual idea is to build an approach for you to understand the things in a bigger perspective, and be it whatever the scenario is, you can find yourself much more confident and comfortable to get the task done, because I can be helpful for you to maybe 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year down the line. But at the end of the day, you are supposed to work on the different projects, and maybe on the different tools. Who knows, today you are learning Python, and your organization, your team might be required to work on some R projects, isn't it so? So are you going to have the separate training for R? Better for me. Does that make sense to everyone? So
Yes.
my approach is now to share these 2 files with you. One is the RFM data file. As I told you, you have to just drag out those 4 entries. Kindly don't cheat, and don't import all these extra columns like EFG. This is something you have to retrieve and derive with the Python code. And from next class onwards, we will be working on the basic data handling techniques. I hope this makes sense to everyone now.
Yeah. So next
I hope you
class is on
enjoyed this
Saturday
session thoroughly.
morning.
Next class would
Next
be on
class.
Saturday morning. Saturday morning, correct.
Okay, so we have tomorrow's day to complete these 2 tasks.
Yes, correct. And it's fairly easy, trust me. It will not take more than 1 hour collectively for both these tasks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Class at 8:30.
Sorry, come up again, Nikita.
Can we have a class at 8:30?
8:30 on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
That is seriously very challenging because I have to anyhow drop my class at 9 a.m. or maybe like to a certain extent I can pull it till 9:30. So for that reason, we have to actually get started by 7:30 a.m. in the morning itself. And I really don't want to get this time being changed because otherwise what will happen? Everyone will get into our own comfort zone and will keep on pushing the classes for like either for the Sundays or maybe for weekdays. Like someone is not available. So at least let's have that Saturday being fixed for 7:30 to 9:30 so that no one is having any excuse and not missing that class. It's like
Okay.
fixed calendar. I am also reserved for that, but permanently. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for all your time, patience, and efforts. We'll share out this recorded session on your YouTube early as possible, and I hope you enjoyed this session thoroughly.
Uncle,
So,
one
is there
small
anyone in this
request.
batch? Just a minute, Akshay. So, is there anyone in this batch who have not encountered or got familiar with the sample superstores data earlier? Anyone? Nikita, Amit, Hitesh, Akshay, Aditi?
I haven't seen this sample store data actually,
Perfect. This is a sample data for the
but I can
Tableau.
try it out. I can try it out. Once you share it, I can try
So,
it
yeah,
out.
perfect. So, just you have to identify this is Excel file having 3 sheets. I can walk you through with that quickly. 3 sheets means one is the order data. Just get this open, please, early as possible. Don't waste time. Please, please, please. Where is that? Come on. Is that open?
I can say it not an issue. It just I need to
Yeah.
get this
So
file.
you have an order data, order sheet. You have a return file where the orders got returned with their order IDs and the people and so on. Okay. I will have a lot of problem statement being framed out on this campus source data to make sure you are understanding the nitty-gritty of the data. This, this Yes, Akshay, go ahead. Your question and your
Okay,
query.
just a small thing. I don't have access to the common share drive. I just need that access so that I can have access to all these reference material. That's it.
Okay, just a second.
Because somehow these files are getting missed at my end.
Okay, let me share that right away. Control C, and here we have that Control V. And I believe I must have uploaded the sample superstore file earlier as well. Did I, guys? Yeah, here's the one. Akshay, you can see that the file sample superstore has already been uploaded earlier. Okay.
So I just need to use this link that you have shared
Yes.
in chat.
Yes. All right. So we'll upload that RFM data as well. So make sure you are start looking into that part. I'm not saying that you would be successful right in a day one, but at least you will have the idea what needs to be done, and based on that, it would be easy for you to get the required input based on the upcoming conversations for this problem statement to be solved. This is all from my side, guys. Thank you so much for all your time. Let's connect on Saturday, 7:30 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Uncle.
Yeah, bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.